Hello and welcome to another episode of BizWire. Today we're zooming in on the event space of Sri Lanka, and with me I have the newly appointed Managing Director of Event Productions, Rayush Wijeyaratne. Very nice to have you on the show, Rayush.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start off our discussion with an overview of the event space right now. What's new? What's hot?
I would say in Sri Lanka currently, our event industry is in a little bit of a recovery mode, considering everything that has gone on globally the past few years, from COVID to here, the economic crisis that we've had. A lot of what we're seeing now is everyone playing catch up after the tough few years. You have a lot of companies, local companies that are exploring newer event opportunities in virtual spaces, in augmented reality. These are things that we need to bring into our industry, I would say, much faster. It's not happening as fast as we would, but that's something that we would like to bring in, and I would say where we are now is kind of setting the pace for where we want to go in the next couple of years.
You spoke of digital events. What are the other kind of trends that you're seeing globally, which, like you said, we should adopt faster?
So like I mentioned, globally, there's so much happening now. If you look at it from the physical event spaces where people are bringing in augmented reality, new virtual experiences to their events, that's happening a lot in the region around us as well as globally. I would say we have adopted to it to a certain extent. We ourselves spent majority of COVID producing virtual events, and sometimes a little bit more than your straightforward Zoom webinar kind of things. So that is something that I wouldn't say that we'd have to let go of it now since things are better, but it's something that we'd have to keep building on because you really never know when we're going to have to go back to those methods again.
And when you talk of clients and how they really adapt to these situations, what's happening over there in that section?
Well, I would say, considering speaking specifically on our local clientele, they do want to try new things. They are influenced a lot by what they see globally. They're seeing lots of these cool activities and tech-based solutions that are happening in events all around the world. Sadly, what we are going through now doesn't allow clients to, I would say, have budgets for those kind of things. And that being said, from our point of view, from an event manager's point of view, and the costing side of things, costs are constantly going up, whereas clients' budgets are not going up. So I wouldn't say it has always been like this, but considering where we are now, that is a challenge that we face.
And apart from cost implications, what are the other demands that clients have, and how are you guys and the industry really fulfilling them?
So other than that, I would say a lot of what clients look at is the experience of their guests at their events. So it really it comes down to, not just on what's happening on stage. It's the experience from the moment that you are invited to an event to the moment that you leave an event, and what the client takes away with them. So what we try to do is see how we can add value to the straightforward events that we do. And these demands increase every year. Clients push us every year because most of the events that we do are annual events. Some we've done for 15, 20 years every year. So that is a challenge for us as well, to see how we can kind of raise the bar every year.
True. I'm coming back to the industry and the past 3 years that we've had. Pandemic, crisis, you name it, we had it. But how do you think the industry really stood up and took on these challenges, including like the little tactics as well as the strategic initiatives?
Okay, so I would say the event industry was hit pretty bad with, from Corona up to the crisis now. There were lots of changes that happened in the industry. Lots of players, big and small, had to kind of shift the way they worked, the methods at which they put events together. Our company ourselves, we had a lot of restructuring going on. Like I mentioned before, online events was something that carried a lot of us those few years. There were the progressive companies that wanted to take on that challenge And because of that, they're at a better footing now since things are slightly better. Like for us, for example, we've managed to sustain ourselves the last few years with the virtual side of things and the smaller physical events. So we're now at a better footing to kind of take it forward and try and bring things back to where they were prior to all the madness.
Talking of event productions, I think the company is celebrating 30 years.
Yep, 30 years.
So can you take us through those 30 years, like very quickly, the milestones and what's happening right now?
Okay, so I've been around, or I've been involved in the business for about 12 years now. I know when my dad started the business 30 years ago, it was definitely no easy ball game. Considering, you know, from technology to communication to just logistics, hearing stories about how it happened back then is pretty scary. So I think we're quite blessed to be where we are at now. In terms of milestones, I would say just being around an event company that's been around for 30 years, and you know, I wouldn't say we haven't had any major issues over the 30 years. We've managed to work throughout the war, throughout the pandemic, throughout this crisis. So the fact that we have stood for this long and we have clients that have stood by us for this long is a great strength, I would say.
That's something very special, but that's just me saying it. According to you, what's the most special thing about event productions?
Okay, so I would say the special thing is how we look at events and how we approach events. For our business and for our company, a lot of what we look at is the passion that we have for having a successful event. We are not purely motivated by profit. For me personally, nothing beats the feeling of, you know, finishing a big event that you've been spending months on working, and you see the client smile after that, and you know things went okay. So I think what makes us special is our commitment to delivering that kind of a service to a client, you know, aside from the numbers and the profit. And the other thing would be, I would say, our transparency with clients, competition, and how we deal with business in general. I know for a fact a lot of clients have stuck with us because they know throughout the years their events and their budgets have been used for their events and their budgets. You know, be it a small budget or a big budget, we try to make sure that the client understands that 100% of what they give us goes towards value addition of their event.
Lovely. So Rayush, you spoke of client demands. Can you take us through the process of, you know, how you deal with clients from the time they contact you first until that smile on their face?
Okay. So a lot of what we get from clients, new clients at least, is, hi, we'd like to do an event. Can we get a quotation, please? Which we try to avoid, and we try to explain to the client what the process is to plan an event. Yes, a budget is a must, but you need to look at your objectives of the event at first. I would say a strong point with us is planning, because no event can be done without 200% planning. So we spend a lot of time initially, before getting to, you know, costings and things, kind of explaining to the clients what to expect, kind of get what their expectations are as well, and to point out, you know, the things that could go wrong and how we could mitigate these issues. And what's very important is deadlines, because you have clients who would brief you 4 months before an event. That gives you good time to come up with planning, you know, all of that. Whereas you've had clients who would give you 2 weeks notice. So it's very important as to how I would manage my time and how I would expect the client to manage their time as well, because we don't fancy doing rush jobs for events, because the more rushed you do things, the more the things can go wrong. So I would say from start to finish, planning is a big part of it. As long as you've got your plans right, you know, the event day doesn't have to be stressful. What we tell our clients is, listen, if you hand over an event to us, you don't need to stress on the day of the event. We want you to be a guest at the event. So that's at least what we strive for.
And asking a difficult question, how do you deal with difficult clients?
Okay, so dealing with difficult clients, I would say one is managing the expectations from the get-go. Because you need to understand that yes, these clients have something in their head that they want to see on their event day, but they don't know the workings of it and the background, and you can't blame them because that is not their space. So I would say it's our responsibility from the get-go to manage their expectations, and patience is a lot of it, because no matter how much you try to manage a client's expectations, you're going to have the odd chance where they are not seeing eye to eye with you, which is normal, but it's a continuous process, you know, from the planning to the event day, just making sure that they are comfortable. Because there have been instances where you start off and the client is extremely difficult, but towards the latter part, they're really calm and okay with you. So I think a lot of it has to do with how you would manage them and keep them calm, and, you know, that relationship and let them know that you know what you are doing and have that confidence.
Raj, you spoke of 2023 being an interesting and exciting year. Before we let you go, can you just take us through how you manage the portfolio between business events, corporate events, and entertainment events?
I would say they both have very different approaches. Corporate events are majority of the work that we do. When it comes to corporate events, yes, planning is important in both aspects of corporate and entertainment. But I would say corporate is when you have a lot more responsibility in terms of your client's vision, because your client is coming out there with, you know, a brand or product that they are bringing out for the first time to their audience. So the stress is a little bit more on our end there, because it's up to us to make sure that we depict their story in the right way. Whereas entertainment-based events, yes, there is a story, but you have a little bit of leeway in terms of, you know, how you can present things. So in a nutshell, I would say corporate requires a lot more attention to detail, a lot more backup planning on every aspect of an event. Entertainment, yes, there are backups. We do go that extra mile as well. But I would say the difference between the two would be the level of stress that you would have between corporate and entertainment-based events.
Got it. And talking about you, 12 years, can you remember your first event? How did you get into this?
Yeah, I remember my first event and being completely, I wouldn't say lost, but it was so new to me because I never wanted to get into the event space. It was never a thought until I was working here. I was working at a local music label for about a year. And I grew up seeing my dad, you know, run in and out of events, in and out of the house, from house to events, back and forth. And I kind of offered to help him about 12 years ago. And once I got involved, I did see that this was a perfect fit for me. It definitely beat the mundane 9 to 5 jobs. This is like a 9 to 9 or 9 a.m. to 9 a.m. the next day kind of job, but it has its moments, and I'm glad I stuck to it.
I'm sure your dad has a big influence on you, but if you talk about things that inspire you and influence you, what would you list?
Funnily, I would say that he is my biggest influence, simply because everything that I have learned in terms of the industry, I have learned from him, and I still do 12 years later. I'm lucky to have someone who has been in the industry for 30 years and continues to kind of point me in the right direction. Basically from running the business to how we treat our clients to how we treat our staff. You know, everything from A to Z has been, I've been shown the ropes, and I'm really grateful for that. And in addition to what he has taught me, I do like to kind of study what's happening around us in the region. India, for example, that has a lot going on in the event space. We try to be influenced with what they have and what they try to achieve for their clients. We're a bit behind in terms of, I would say, the technology and what is available in the country, but we're aspiring to be there for sure.
And talking about you, what is your, mantra for continuous learning?
Okay, so my mantra in general, I would say, in the event space is keeping calm. With that, the learning, all of that comes along, but having handled literally thousands of events, from start to finish, live events where mistakes cannot be made, things cannot go wrong. The lesson that I've really learned is to be calm in situations that are good and when things go wrong as well. Because that sets the tone for the rest of the event and your clients as well. So I would say keeping calm is number one. And once that is done, you have time to learn, you have time to kind of look into the other areas, look at how other people do work and other markets.
Lovely. So keep calm and keep doing it.
Definitely.
So before we wind off our discussion, what is 2023 looking like for event productions?
2023 is looking good, I would say, considering the last few years. We had a lull of about 3 years where lots of our bigger clients who have their annual events toned them down a lot. You know, we had 1,000 pack events that were cut down to 100 pack events. But this year, people are actually planning to go full force like they did prior to the pandemic. So I would say for event productions, we have an exciting year coming ahead. Challenges aren't done. We're still going to have lots more, but I'm quite confident considering the last few years and everything we went through that we're pretty much ready to tackle anything that comes our way and take it one step at a time.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We've been talking to the Managing Director of Event Productions, Rayush Wijeyaratne. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, take care.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching and stay safe.